What's going on, everyone? So, the boy in white you knew was going to make an emergence, a reappearance at some point this season. We saw him earlier in the season when Tabitha was out in the real world. He also was the one that pushed Tabitha, so we saw him at the end of last season, beginning of this season, and the boy in white is constantly kind of sprinkled in throughout each season, just kind of randomly throughout. Not really randomly, but you get my point, right? As far as like episodes go, it's just kind of like, is this an episode where he's gonna make a cameo? Is he gonna make an appearance? And as we move closer to the final episode of the season, you knew that, hey, he's gonna show up at some point. They kind of set it up in episode 8. Lo and behold, you get to episode 9, and we get the boy in white. And FROMVILLE itself is changing, right? That's been a huge point of just, hey, this place is changing. Like Victor even said, it never snows here. It's starting to snow. FROMVILLE, you can argue, has always had some form of change, right? Like in the sense of like the trees moving, right? Victor has like measured the trees, but there is this kind of constant with FROMVILLE, right? Even from the monsters, right? Like Randall relayed that, like, hey, the monsters are always doing the exact same thing. They're always in the same place. Like there's this repetition. This almost FROMVILLE is OCD in a sense, right? Like it's just this constant, gonna do the same thing every single day, every single night, at the same time, this, that, and the other. Right? Very punctual. But we saw in the most recent episode that not only is FROMVILLE changing, but so is the boy in white. The boy in white is getting older. Now, look, the actor himself is getting older naturally. So I do think that it's a kind of a unique way to talk about, like, oh, hey, he's changing, he's getting older. How do we kind of justify this and argue this without having to like recast the boy in white every like 3 months, right? Like, so I do like that Victor pointed out, Victor talked about, hey, like, you look different, like you've changed. He's like, yeah, everything's changing, right? Yeah, I'm changing too. I'm getting older. I shouldn't be getting older, right? Like there seems to be this like question of like, what's the deal? What's going on? And it still begs the question of like, who or what is the boy in white, right? It appears as a boy. According to Sarah, she said that she doesn't believe that it is a boy. Now, she doesn't know for certain, but she just doesn't believe. And by the way, the boy in white is like the least helpful person ever, right? Like it is incredibly frustrating, right? Victor's like begging him, please, like help, do something. And like the boy in white's just like, I tried once. Okay, so that means you can never try again. Thanks, got it. Right? Like, and just like yells at Victor to stop trying to cut down the tree. I would have been just like hammering away at that tree. I would have been like, all right, well, either you're going to stop me or you're going to tell me, right? Either or, right? You don't want me to cut down this tree, then you better start talking, right? Would kind of be my point, but that's neither here nor there. Point is, like the boy in white, right? It feels like at some point, I don't believe this season, we have one episode left, right? But I don't think that was just kind of like a throwaway thing. I believe that they're probably going to have the boy in white continue to play a role, continue to play a story, but also maybe we get a sort of journey through the boy in white, right? That the boy in white is going through his own changes, that is going through his own kind of transformation and metamorphosis, right? And he is he an entity that can age, or is this something that shouldn't be happening, right? And if so, okay, well, what is causing that for the boy in white? Is it whoever's above him, whoever's, whatever entity or being or whatever is responsible for FROMVILLE, right? Like, is that who's turning the boy in white? Did the boy in white do something that is causing that? Is it just kind of the natural progression through just decisions that the people of the town have made? Right? And it's just impacted the boy in white and kind of just naturally changed everything and threw everything at whack. Right? Kind of like, that kind of like Mother Nature, right? Like it on its own clock, it's doing its own thing, right? Like it doesn't need necessarily God to pull every string to make, like, okay, well, today we're going to have a hurricane, right? It's just like it naturally just develops through just the Earth's ecosystem, right? Like, so is that something that is the cause for this for the boy in white? Is it something where, it's just through this natural progression of and decisions that maybe some of the characters are making that it's affecting and manipulating the boy in white? There's so many questions in particular with the boy in white, and again, he's the least helpful person ever, right? It's like he'll kind of point and like, but what is the boy in white? Here's another kind of question that I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Is that something that we should have answered? Should we get the is it something that it's like, okay, like there's some things that are probably better off left unsaid, right? There's some things that are probably better off just not explaining. Right? We all would love answers to everything, but part of the fun is the mystery. And when you start over explaining or explaining things, right, you start to take away some of its shine, right? Some of its luster. And is the boy in white something that we need a real explanation? Like, where did he come from? What is he? Is it okay to just kind of have him exist? He's just this thing, part of this place, just like everything else, right? Like, I think at some point it'll be explained. I think at some point it'll be like, oh, he was the first kid or whatever, right? Like you see the Ankui kids, right? It's like, I think, oh, he was the first kid that was sacrificed, or, he was the first kid that, escaped and hid away for a long time and they weren't able to find him, and, that they weren't able to complete the ritual, which caused the curse or whatever, right? Like I could see something like that, something crazy along those lines. But ideally, I'd like to see kind of a natural progression of his character. I'm not saying you have to have him in every episode or you have to have him, be the main focus point or anything like that. But I would like to see us kind of start unpacking and unraveling, even if it's not necessarily the past of the boy in white and like who he is or what he is or whatever, at least kind of like the changes he's going through. Right? Like, what is the impact on that? Does it affect FROMVILLE? Does he have a life expectancy? Right? Is it possible that, hey, I'm aging at such a pace, at such a rate that, I could die and now you won't have me to help, right? Like, I'd love to kind of see a story kind of unpack, unravel, unfold for the boy in white. And we start kind of getting some pieces on how does he operate in FROMVILLE? I would love to see, what does he do? Is he just chilling in a cave somewhere? Is he, is he sleeping all day? Like the monsters, does he have some secret base that he's just is just a playground and jungle gym and he's just living his best life as this little kid, right? I'd love to know kind of a bit of the day to day, right? Maybe that's just me, but I'd love, is he there everywhere? Is he just walking around the town, but invisible and you just can't see him, right? It's just oh, the boy in white is just eavesdropping and checking on everybody, but you don't even know he's there, right? Is he this entity he's everywhere? Look, I've even talked about, is he God, right? God works in mysterious ways, right? God, was very hands-on in the beginning and then it changed just through people's actions and stuff, right? Is that something that they could kind of make that a point, as we progress, right? And it's just kind of he keeps popping up and appearing, and it's just this is the form that he manifests when he's in FROMVILLE, and maybe it's becoming affected and he has to go elsewhere, right? There's so many possibilities, so many directions you could potentially go with the boy in white and just FROMVILLE, period. But I think it's very interesting that he is changing, right? And it was so apparent. I mean, Victor pointed it out, singled it out, said, hey, what's up? Like, you're changed. You're going through these changes. There's something not right here. And he just said, like, everything's changing. Okay, well, it'd be nice to know what that means, right? Like, a little service, little like, hey, hey, maybe you should do this type thing. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you want to kind of get more story on the boy in white? Do you want it to be past? Do you want it to be the present? Do you want it to be, a little bit of both, right? You'd love to unpack. Are you somebody that, is just like, no, like some things are best left unexplained, left unsaid, right? Like it's okay to not have to explain everything, right? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.